He transferred my name off the company without telling me, so I froze payroll 2 hours before his board presentation. The December rain drummed against the windows of my small home office in suburban Phoenix as I stared at the computer screen that displayed the quarterly financial reports for Martinez Security Solutions, the private security company I had built from nothing over the past 15 years. At 62 years old, I had recently retired from the Phoenix Police Department after 38 years of service, and this business had become not just my primary source of income, but also my pride and legacy that I planned to pass down to my family when the time came for me to step back completely from active management responsibilities. My business partner and nephew, Carlos Martinez, sat across from me at the small conference table I had installed in the converted spare bedroom that served as our company headquarters. His perfectly pressed business suit and expensive Italian leather shoes creating a stark contrast to my comfortable jeans and worn polo shirt that still bore the faded logo of the police department where I had spent most of my adult life serving and protecting the community I loved so deeply. If this story is hitting close to home, please comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Give this video a like and subscribe to our channel because we truly help families and business partners who are going through these exact situations. Your support helps us continue sharing these stories that show how people overcome betrayal and find justice in impossible circumstances. Carlos was 34 years old and had joined me as a junior partner 3 years earlier when he graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in business administration and expressed interest in learning the security industry from someone who understood both the operational and financial aspects of running a successful service-based company. I had welcomed him enthusiastically, seeing an opportunity to mentor a family member while also preparing for my eventual retirement by training someone I trusted to eventually take over the day-to-day operations of the business I had worked so hard to build. What I didn't know at the time was that Carlos had been systematically manipulating corporate documents and financial records to gradually transfer ownership and control of Martinez Security Solutions away from me and into his own name, using his business education and my trusting nature to essentially steal the company I had spent 15 years building from scratch with my own sweat, savings, and professional reputation earned through decades of honest police work. The discovery of Carlos's betrayal came completely by accident when I decided to update our business insurance policies and contacted our insurance agent to discuss coverage options for the upcoming year. During that routine conversation, the agent casually mentioned that according to his records, Carlos Martinez was now listed as the sole owner of Martinez Security Solutions, and asked if I was planning to retire completely from the business or if I wanted to maintain some level of coverage as a former owner. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach as the implications of the insurance agent's words sank in completely. Without my knowledge or consent, Carlos had somehow managed to transfer legal ownership of my company into his own name, effectively stealing 15 years of my hard work and leaving me with no legal claim to the business that bore my family name and represented my life's work after retiring from law enforcement. That evening, I spent hours reviewing corporate documents, bank records, and legal filings that Carlos had handled over the past 18 months, slowly piecing together the elaborate scheme he had used to gradually strip me of ownership while maintaining the pretense of being a loyal and trustworthy business partner who was learning from my experience and preparing to help me transition into a comfortable retirement. The method Carlos had used was sophisticated and carefully planned over many months of patient manipulation. He had convinced me to sign various documents that he claimed were routine business filings, insurance updates, or banking requirements, but which actually contained legal language that gradually transferred ownership shares, voting rights, and operational control away from me and into his possession. Carlos had taken advantage of my trust in family relationships and my limited understanding of complex corporate legal language to essentially forge my signature on documents that I never would have signed if I had understood their true purpose and legal implications. He had used my respect for his college education and business knowledge to convince me that he was handling tedious paperwork that I didn't need to worry about as the senior partner. Martinez Security Solutions had been my dream and my life's work since retiring from the Phoenix Police Department in 2009. I had used my pension savings, my extensive network of contacts in law enforcement and the security industry, and my reputation for integrity and professionalism to build a company that provided armed security services, private investigation, and consulting to businesses throughout the Phoenix metropolitan area. The company had grown steadily over 15 years, employing 12 full-time security officers and generating annual revenues of nearly $800,000 through contracts with retail establishments, office buildings, construction sites, and special events throughout Arizona. Every client relationship had been built on my personal reputation and the trust that came from my decades of experience in law enforcement and my commitment to providing reliable, professional security services. When Carlos approached me about joining the business, I had been thrilled at the opportunity to mentor a family member and potentially create a legacy that could continue for generations within our family. Carlos was the son of my younger brother Roberto, who had died in a construction accident when Carlos was still in high school, and I felt a special responsibility to provide guidance and opportunities for my nephew as he started his adult career. Carlos had been an excellent student and a charismatic young man who seemed genuinely interested in learning the security business from someone with real-world experience in law enforcement and private security operations. During his first 2 years with the company, he had demonstrated strong work ethic, good judgment in dealing with clients, and apparent loyalty to the values and reputation that Martinez Security Solutions had built in the Phoenix business community. I had gradually given Carlos more responsibility for administrative tasks, client relations, and financial management, seeing these assignments as valuable training opportunities that would prepare him to eventually take over operational control of the company when I decided to retire completely. What I interpreted as eagerness to learn and contribute to the company's success was actually Carlos systematically positioning himself to steal control of the business. The paperwork that Carlos had convinced me to sign over 18 months included corporate resolutions that transferred voting control, banking authorizations that gave him exclusive access to company accounts, insurance documents that removed me as a beneficiary, and legal filings that changed the corporate structure to eliminate my ownership stake while maintaining his own position as the controlling shareholder. Each individual document had been presented to me as a routine business requirement or a minor administrative update that didn't require detailed review or legal consultation. Carlos had deliberately scheduled these signings during busy periods when I was focused on client issues or operational problems, knowing that I would be more likely to trust his explanations and sign quickly without reading every page of complex legal language. The most devastating discovery was that Carlos had been planning this takeover for much longer than I had initially realized. Bank records showed that he had been systematically diverting company profits into personal accounts that I had no access to, while maintaining separate books that showed lower profits to justify reduced distributions to me as the supposed senior partner. Carlos had also been secretly negotiating with our largest clients to transfer their contracts to a new company that he was planning to establish once he had completed the process of stealing Martinez Security Solutions. These negotiations had been conducted during evening hours and weekend meetings that I was not invited to attend, under the pretense that Carlos was simply building stronger client relationships on behalf of our existing company. When I confronted Carlos with the evidence of his betrayal during what I thought would be a routine business meeting, his response was both shocking and revealing of his true character. Instead of showing remorse or attempting to explain his actions, Carlos coldly informed me that he had simply been more strategic and business savvy than I had been, and that I should consider this a learning experience about the importance of reading documents carefully before signing them. "Uncle Frank," he said with a smirk that I had never seen before, "you're a good security guard and you were probably a decent cop, but you never understood the business side of running a company. I've just been cleaning up the corporate structure and making sure this business has proper management going forward." Carlos went on to explain that he had consulted with attorneys and accountants who had assured him that all of his actions had been technically legal since I had voluntarily signed the documents that transferred ownership and control to him. He claimed that he was actually doing me a favor by relieving me of the stress and responsibility of running a business that required more sophisticated management than someone with my limited business education could provide. The condescending tone and obvious lack of respect for everything I had accomplished in building Martinez Security Solutions was almost as hurtful as the theft itself. Carlos was treating me like an incompetent old man who should be grateful that a younger, more educated person was taking over the difficult work of running a successful business, completely ignoring the fact that he was stealing 15 years of my hard work and dedication. However, Carlos had made one critical mistake in his elaborate scheme to steal my company. In his eagerness to transfer ownership and control into his own name, he had overlooked the fact that I still maintained exclusive access to the payroll system and the primary business banking accounts that were used to pay employee salaries, contractor fees, and other critical business expenses that kept Martinez Security Solutions operating smoothly. This oversight became Carlos's downfall when he scheduled a crucial presentation to the board of directors of Phoenix Commercial Properties, our largest client, for the following Thursday morning. This presentation was intended to secure a 3-year contract extension worth over $2 million in total revenue, and Carlos had been preparing for weeks to demonstrate his leadership capabilities and his vision for expanding the security services we provided to their multiple properties throughout the Phoenix area. On the Tuesday morning before Carlos's big presentation, I received a phone call from Maria Rodriguez, the Human Resources Director at Phoenix Commercial Properties, asking about some irregularities she had noticed in recent billing statements and requesting confirmation of the current ownership structure of Martinez Security Solutions. During that conversation, I learned that Carlos had already been representing himself as the sole owner of the company and had been negotiating contract terms without my knowledge or input. That afternoon, I made the decision that would change everything for both Carlos and the future of Martinez Security Solutions. Instead of allowing him to complete his theft and potentially destroy the reputation I had spent 15 years building, I decided to use the one advantage I still possessed to expose his betrayal and protect the interests of our employees and legitimate clients. At exactly 2 hours before Carlos's scheduled presentation to the Phoenix Commercial Properties Board, I accessed the company's payroll system and froze all employee payments, contractor disbursements, and automatic bill payments that were scheduled to process that day. I also transferred the remaining company funds from our primary operating account into a separate escrow account that required my personal authorization for any withdrawals or transfers. Additionally, I sent detailed letters to all of our major clients, including Phoenix Commercial Properties, explaining the situation with Carlos's unauthorized takeover and informing them that any contract signed with him during the period when he had fraudulently claimed ownership would need to be renegotiated with the legitimate owner of Martinez Security Solutions once the legal issues were resolved. The impact of these actions was immediate and devastating for Carlos's plans. When employees arrived at work on Thursday morning expecting their regular paychecks, they found that payroll had been suspended indefinitely pending resolution of a corporate ownership dispute. Security officers who were scheduled to work at various client locations throughout Phoenix called in to report that their pay cards had been declined and they needed immediate clarification about their employment status. More importantly for Carlos's immediate situation, the Phoenix Commercial Properties Board meeting had to be postponed when Maria Rodriguez received my letter explaining that the person scheduled to make the presentation did not actually have legal authority to enter into contracts on behalf of Martinez Security Solutions. The board demanded proof of Carlos's ownership claims before they would consider moving forward with any contract negotiations. Carlos called me in a panic that morning, alternating between threats and desperate pleading as he realized that his carefully constructed scheme was collapsing around him. He accused me of sabotaging the business out of spite and threatened to sue me for interfering with legitimate business operations, apparently forgetting that he had no legal standing to make such threats since his ownership claims were based on fraudulent documentation. "You're destroying everything we've built together," Carlos shouted during one particularly heated phone conversation. "That Phoenix Commercial Properties contract could set us up for the next 3 years, and you're throwing it away because you can't accept that I'm a better businessman than you are." I calmly explained to Carlos that he had destroyed our business relationship and the company's future the moment he decided to steal my life's work instead of earning his own success through honest effort and genuine partnership. I also informed him that I had already contacted attorneys who specialized in corporate fraud and that criminal charges were being considered in addition to civil litigation to recover my stolen assets. The legal battle that followed lasted 8 months and involved extensive document review, witness testimony, and expert analysis of the corporate records that Carlos had manipulated to support his fraudulent ownership claims. My attorney was able to demonstrate clearly that Carlos had used deception and deliberate misrepresentation to convince me to sign documents that I would never have agreed to if I had understood their true purpose and legal implications. The court ultimately ruled that Carlos's actions constituted fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and conversion of business assets, and ordered him to return full ownership and control of Martinez Security Solutions to me immediately. Carlos was also required to pay substantial damages to compensate for lost business opportunities, legal expenses, and the harm caused to the company's reputation during the period of disputed ownership. More satisfying than the legal victory was the fact that Carlos's reputation in the Phoenix business community was permanently damaged by the court proceedings and the publicity surrounding his attempt to steal my company. Word spread quickly through the security industry and the broader business community that Carlos Martinez had tried to defraud his own uncle and business partner, making it virtually impossible for him to find employment or establish credibility in any future business ventures. Phoenix Commercial Properties not only renewed their contract with Martinez Security Solutions once the ownership issues were resolved, but they also increased the scope of services and extended the contract term to 5 years in recognition of the integrity and professionalism I had demonstrated throughout the crisis. Several other clients also expanded their relationships with our company, expressing appreciation for the honest way I had handled the difficult situation with Carlos. The employees who had been affected by the temporary payroll freeze were given bonus payments to compensate for the inconvenience and uncertainty they had experienced, and I implemented new corporate governance procedures to prevent any future manipulation of company documents or financial systems. These changes included requiring independent legal review of all significant corporate documents and maintaining separate oversight of financial controls and ownership records. Carlos eventually left Phoenix and moved to California, where he attempted to start his own security company but struggled to build credibility or secure significant contracts due to his damaged reputation and the lack of the professional network and client relationships that had taken me decades to develop. Last I heard, he was working as a sales representative for someone else's security equipment company, having learned the hard way that stealing someone else's success is much harder than building your own. The experience with Carlos taught me valuable lessons about the importance of maintaining control over critical business systems, even when working with trusted family members or partners. It also reinforced my belief that success in business, like success in law enforcement, ultimately depends on integrity, hard work, and genuine service to others rather than manipulation, deception, or attempts to take shortcuts at other people's expense. Today, Martinez Security Solutions continues to operate successfully under my ownership and management, with annual revenues that have grown to over $1 million through honest business practices and a reputation for reliability and professionalism that has been built over 2 decades of consistent service to the Phoenix business community. The company now employs 18 security officers and has established itself as one of the most trusted security providers in Arizona. The office space that Carlos once occupied has been converted into a training room where new security officers learn the professional standards and ethical principles that guide our company's operations. I often tell new employees the story of Carlos's betrayal as an example of why integrity and honesty are not just moral principles, but also practical business necessities that determine long-term success or failure. I have also used this experience to mentor other small business owners about the importance of maintaining proper corporate governance and financial controls, even when working with family members or trusted partners. Many business owners make the mistake of assuming that family relationships or personal history provide sufficient protection against fraud or betrayal. But Carlos proved that education, charm, and family connections mean nothing when someone decides that greed is more important than honor. The frozen payroll system that I used to stop Carlos's presentation has become something of a legend among other security company owners in Phoenix, who often joke about the importance of keeping control over the money even when you trust your partners completely. Several other business owners have told me that my experience convinced them to implement better safeguards in their own companies to prevent similar betrayals. Looking back on the entire situation, I realized that Carlos actually did me a favor by revealing his true character before he could cause even more damage to the company and its employees. If his scheme had succeeded completely, he would have destroyed the reputation and client relationships that Martinez Security Solutions had built over 15 years, potentially putting our employees out of work and damaging the trust that our clients had placed in our company. The legal victory over Carlos also demonstrated to our clients, employees, and competitors that Martinez Security Solutions was built on solid principles and strong leadership that could withstand even serious internal challenges. This reputation for stability and integrity has become one of our company's most valuable assets and has helped us secure contracts with clients who value reliability and ethical business practices above all other considerations. 5 years after the confrontation with Carlos, I still receive calls from other business owners who are dealing with similar situations involving fraudulent partners or family members who have betrayed their trust. I always encourage these people to take immediate action to protect their assets and seek legal counsel, because waiting or hoping that the situation will resolve itself usually makes the problem much worse. The story of Carlos's betrayal and my response has become part of the Martinez Security Solutions company culture, reminding all employees that our success depends on maintaining the highest standards of honesty and integrity in all of our business relationships. New employees learn that we expect the same level of ethical behavior from our team members that our clients expect from us when we protect their properties and assets. If this story has resonated with you, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from. Stories like this one remind us that while business partnerships can face serious challenges and even betrayal, there are always ways to fight back and protect what we've worked so hard to build. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these stories of resilience and justice. When you comment, like, or subscribe, you're not just supporting our channel, you're joining a community of people who believe that integrity and hard work should be rewarded, and that those who try to steal from others should face consequences for their actions. Many business owners and family members face similar situations, and knowing that others have successfully fought back can provide hope and inspiration during their own difficult times. Your support allows us to keep sharing these real-life stories that show how ordinary people can overcome extraordinary challenges through determination, courage, and smart decision-making. We believe that everyone deserves to protect their life's work from those who would try to steal it, and together we can create a community where honesty and integrity are valued above all else. So please, if this message has touched you, don't hesitate to leave a comment, give us a like, and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you're standing with business owners, family members, and partners around the world who refuse to let betrayal define their future. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for helping us continue to share these powerful stories of justice and redemption.